button. Yeah,
and is it a vote that you can put preference or just?
it's just a regular.
You can do like in liquid feedback. This is my top choice.
So now we see that everyone voted yes. That's alpha everyone seems to have voted yes.
Yeah, get it. Cool. And all the votes are. You can see what everybody voted. Can you have non-public vote?
I don't believe that.
To get the outcome, but not the names of the people.
I find also the email that it'll automatically email everyone when you update stuff. Rather than having to send an email every time to everyone, it just sends it straight out to everyone. I found that to be really good. It's a pretty basic system. It's not complicated. I know we also have a Wikipedia record. So it'll make Wikipedia updates, wiki updates rather. Wiki updates, sorry. And I know that there you see the list of options features of the thing. It sounds like it has more options than it really does. So, but now you can see, like, normally I'm just putting in a new issue and the type of issue. You can do assign it to when to follow up. Okay, so besides Redmine, I also put a Lumio out there. You can see the top there. That's the Lumio. We basically switched from Lumio to Redmine. But before the board decision to Lumio, this is the actual board decision. Okay. So we have not been using Lumio recently, but Lumio is also a perfectly good group decision-making software system. Also open source, yeah. And it's got pretty nice graphics. And you can see it also allows voting. It's pretty identical in most forms. There's no reason you need both. It's just who prefers. For a while, it sounds like people preferred Redmine, then Lumio, and now Redmine again. And that's Lumio. Can you show the pirate pad? I think most of us know it, but
in Lumio, show some example.
Well, the PPI one is not running for whatever reason now.
Lumio is proposed for discussion and voting.
Oh, it is working. Wonderful. Okay, so that's right. So Pirate Pad again is the most simple, basic, equivalent to Google Docs, collaborative word processing tool. You can see we'll do the minutes on here, and it allows everyone, and it highlights based on your name. We put the right thing. You can set it. There is showing you can set it between private, public, and I've put it at public before, and then a troll comes along and puts all sorts of stuff in. So be careful if you are going to make it public that you do have like a second backup somewhere of what you originally wanted. Again, there's a history, so you can actually track and see who put it in and erase their information pretty easily. But showing the history right now. Also a very easy, useful tool. We've run it through we set up our own ppi.piratenpad.de, the German server. So we made our own group within that. I said Norway and I think a few other countries have their own pirate pad, set up.
And you can save different pads like in a folder and
in your account. So your account has all your pads that you create.
Or are joining.
Right. You guys, probably most of you know Mumble, which is just a voice communication tool. Again, open source, pretty basic. We haven't been using it recently, although and I think a lot of gamers use Mumble. Yeah.
But it's not a team platform. It does have the same features, so to say.
What is this?
This is the same Pirate Pad. It's just a different.
The other one is for teams. This is for single sheets.
For
single sheets, so to say.
Nice.
Yeah, and he also has a setup like where we have a default where it shows our minutes, like our framework, sort of. So that way
default template.
Yeah, default template.
Is this where you could also do video?
I see a little video button there. What is that? I've never seen that before, actually. I've never noticed that.
Embed video.
I don't know.
And you can embed your live
Yeah,
video.
I don't know. I don't know if I would. Normally, we just use this like a scrap sheet, and then we'll publish it on the wiki or somewhere. So I would recommend embedding in the wiki or wherever you're going to publish it.
There used to be a platform, I didn't find it again, with 2 video screens on both sides where you can talk, and in the middle there's a pad where you can write. It was really useful. We used it a few years ago, 13, 14, and I haven't found it since.
Is it Dizzy? Dizzy.
I don't remember.
JITSI, open source piece of software. You're calling with
Maybe in browser.
In the browser.
In the browser, you have 2 windows, and you can do like screenshot of.
Yeah, you can use other tools as well, like for video camera. You can play around with.
What's it called?
Passing the link.
Send me a link. All right.
Some of the other tools we actually have and haven't been using, and I would like to, is like Lime Survey, an open source survey software. Obviously the wiki, and where are you taking us, Thomas?
Close all the unnecessary windows.
I actually didn't. I don't think I have it installed. This is the new computer.
Windows.
We'll find out.
You can install it if you like, but I'm pretty sure I don't have
a
it installed.
tagline for wine for what you put in Linux. The plugin for Linux to run Windows-based program called Wine. And the
Zoom is
tagline is
installed.
opening windows for a better tomorrow.
And so is it showing it now? Mumble. Okay, is there any other, again, Liquid Feedback was the other software that we worked with before.
We used Helios once for voting. I don't know if you
We use it.
Helios?
Yeah, we are switching to Helios.
Show us Helios?
We did it. We chose our candidates in 2013 with Helios.
We did primary for Helios.
iOS, I think, yeah. Helios. That's second. Is that Helios Comp? Is that it, or no? That's not it.
It's Helios voting.
Try Helios Vote. VOT. We've, Doodle as well for setting up meetings, but that's also very basic. I know there's a lot of commercial software, but we try and stick with open source solutions whenever possible. That's been kind of a debate, I guess, within the group. Whenever we do use something that's maybe Google operated or that it often generates a lot of conflict, if you prefer open source solutions, but sometimes it's not as convenient for using. Anything else in the online discussion? Okay, so why don't we keep moving along? Next. What? Saba?
Okay.
So you go. And so Owen's going to speak to us a little bit about concepts.
Do you have liquid
for
feedback just to show also?
liquid feedback? I don't have anything installed right now.
There isn't?
And Germany stopped using it, right? I think Germany was really big into it in the beginning, but they moved away.
For us, it didn't work because the Germans read the top line, and then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth, and then the sixth. Israelis, they read the bottom line, they push a button, the vote, and then so it didn't work. They first push a button and then they read.
אז איך אתה מחבר את זה עם HDMI?
Then they start reading it. That's it. HDMI.
תחבר את המחשב שלך.
לא, אין לי HDMI.
אז תשלח לי באימייל מה שאתה רוצה. Another idea, just one last thing that we discussed, and this is also one of our little pipe dreams for financing PPI, is that we would actually build applications ourselves, and of course it would have to be open source, so there would be a little trouble collecting funds from it, but
there's so many actually different like local places. There's a building cooperative operating in this building. They built their own software for putting volunteers in place, like people saying when can we be here, and I think there's lots of like local communities using their own. Maybe PPI can coordinate and they make a wiki of. This is what these are using for voting. These are tools for setting meetings, tools for protocols, for decision making, forums, email.
Thomas is showing us the Mumble right now, and you see all the pirate parties. I think a lot of pirate parties have their own channel, they don't even realize it.
This is PPI Mumble.
Yeah. Oh, it is. So,
We have our own Mumble.
Call someone. Call the Tunisians, the New Zealand. What time is it there?
well, no one's. I don't think anyone else is online at the moment. So.
It's not common knowledge.
Yeah.
It's just set up 20 months ago, so we haven't spread it.
Why don't you PPI Israel?
We don't have our own channel
Why?
because we wouldn't use it.
Because you use PPI instead of PPIL.
Hey,
Okay, tell me when and that.
okay, so we're going to hand it over to Oad, who's going to speak now a little bit about PPIL. And Oad, are you okay? Oad?
Sure, yeah.
You need the self-confidence microphone?
What is this?
He's
This is
setting
Mumble.
up, Mumble.
It's connected to the server.
We don't need to go into a Mumble.
Okay, Mumble.
One thing that's quite important, because most people who have problems if they're using the Mumble and doing Mumble, we do have a wonderful room which is named, which is Parrot. Parrot. So you can test it in the area if you've got sound problems or etc. So you will get a feedback to talk to.
Okay.
Mumble has this thing where it can automatically read voices. And so when you're speaking, it can read your voice, but there are a lot of problems with that. And I definitely recommend the push to talk. Otherwise, it gives you a lot of feedback.
And
There it is.
this one.
So the best option is use push to talk. Always.
אולי
works
תתחלפו,
best.
אבל כי אוהד הולך לדבר ופה אתה
This one, yeah. That's right.
All right, thank you very much. Now Ohad.
Oh, do you need to put it on there?
You don't want to wait for Dan? It should be here any
We
minute.
don't have so much time, so
He
why don't
doesn't
we
have
let Dan
HDMI. He sent you
Okay,
an email.
I'll do it from that computer.
send an email? All right.
That's not fine.
Please take the self-confidence microphone. 1, 2, 1, 2. Is it working?
I don't see.
And you need to open. Why?
The image.
What? Oh, we just got. Hold on, I'm getting a message. There's an activity here.
It's 6:30.
At 6. She needs to clean up this.
We have our main speaker now.
We didn't know.
Our main speaker hasn't
We'll
even
be
done yet.
until 10 minutes to 6.
No, she needs to clean up here. So maybe. And I have a phone at the same time.
I'm writing Matar.
השאלה היא מה אנחנו...
טוב,
What
יש
do
לנו
we
רק
do now?
שני
We can
דברים
take
אחרונים.
this quickly to the ספרייה.
Okay.
Do you
If
want?
we can move it, we move the TV there and everything?
Yeah,
But
let's
that's
move
going to be
the
difficult.
TV quickly and sit there.
Sing. There we go. Ah, I get it.
בטלפון שלך?
איפה?
There you go.
רגע, שלחתי לך גם קישור.
טוב, אני...
טוב, לא חשוב, לא חשוב.
תגיד לי אחר כך מה הייתי.
אוקיי. טוב, אז אני אעשה את זה ממש 5 דקות. I'll do it real quick. So, okay, hi everybody. So the model that we had, that we developed in 2012 towards the elections of 2013 was the dynamic democracy. That's how we call it. It's dynamic democracy. That people have the ability to all the time affect the decision making. So that would actually be a crowdsourcing of policy making, and it would allow rapid collective decision making. It would allow direct democracy, and it would have a contemporary checks and balances. So the checks and balances that we know now, that there are three authorities: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. So we also came with the three bodies that would serve as
It was 0.02, right?
Yeah, that's 0.02.
In the previous.
0.01 was 4 years ago. So the idea was to reconstruct the pirate parties in a way that each party would have three bodies. One would include all the members of the party, everybody that sees itself as affiliated, that now be a member has username and password, and could use the system. The system could be liquid feedback or any other platform that could be used for this goal. And that one, everybody would be part of. The second one, we call it the deck, asipun in Hebrew, and in that body there would be the same number of people like in the country's parliament. So
Like a shadow government in the Czech, like the Czechs have a shadow, right?
So in Israel it would be 120 people, in Czech Republic it would be 200, right? In every country there's different number of members.
Also in Israel, Hadash always put forth a list of 100.
100. Yeah,
In case
several parties do that, yes. And
It's the maximum you could handle.
and then the Gesher Apikud would have 10% of those people, and they would be used as a shadow government. Now, each body would have 33% of the voting power in the party. So let's say that the party in the parliament or in the municipal parliament has to vote on something. The elected people from the party would have to vote according to the party decision that would be made through all members in this way, everybody would have third of the voting power. This would be by itself checks and balances because it would prevent popular decisions. For example, in Israel, let's say in utopic, like in the ideal situation, that all the people in Israel, all the citizens are voting through the system, and all the members of the parliament are from such parties. If there is a terror attack or something and people feel really bad and they want to go to war, that system would prevent it because you still have those two bodies of people that have accountability. And people,
Every two bodies have more.
Right. And
power
then from
than
the
the
other
third.
hand, you cannot bribe those people that sit here because they cannot make the decision alone. So if you, this would be by itself checks and balances, which is much more democratic, because everybody could take part. Now the model that we talked about it in Israel how it's being elected. So those members elect those people every 6 months. They vote for 0.1 to 5% of those people. It means that every 4 years everybody here would have to be elected.
Instead of
eight-
it once,
Yeah.
it's like 10% every.
Yeah, 8 times this, it's one. So every 4 years, everybody here would be have to be elected, and also in the same case
You
here.
call helm once and cockpit same.
Right.
Yeah, helm and cockpit are the
yeah,
same.
Helm and cockpit are the same. It's just boat and I don't know.
And
Okay.
And spaceship.
And again, the elected people would have to act according to this system. So I'm doing it short. Many times when I speak about it, people say, "Wow, it sounds complicated," and I don't know if it's really doable. But I mean, that's what I hear from people. But every system that we have in the world, even in primitive places, is in a way complicated. In Israel, people have to study citizenship in school, to know about all the things. It's not so much more complicated. It's just the way that we understand things. It is actually, if you look at many applications that people have now, on the phones, this would be pretty easy way for people to make decisions together, and it would be, I believe, more democratic, and it would encourage participation and engagement. Another thing that we will have there is the ability to delegate votes. So if so just like there are the people on the ham, each one would focus on one issue, like in a government, there are ministers. So somebody would focus on tourism, one on economy, one on transportation, one on international affairs, and so on. So if a member of the party, somebody who is just a member, but if they don't want to invest their time in voting all the time on their application on any issue that they might not have interest in, they can delegate the vote in that particular field to somebody else that they trust their opinions. So and the people that they delegate or vote to can be anybody here. So in that case, if there is a new member in the party and he joins the party, he's not here or here yet, they just join the party, and they are very charismatic, they can easily get a lot of the voting power of the party. They still cannot get more than 33% in any case, but they can be very influential. And that could be inviting for other people to join, people who might be known in the public and want to be elected. However, just like ambassadors of countries today cannot do whatever that they want, they get instructions and they work for the country that they serve. The parliament members will not do whatever they want. They will get instruction through the system from the party, and they will just have to do it in their best way. So we would choose the best people to represent us, but they will have to do the same thing. It doesn't matter who it would be, they would have to do the same thing. We would just want them to do it very good, that they would be able to speak really well, that they would look good, that they would be convincing, but they would have to do the same thing.
Who elects the 10%?
All party members?
No,
are the
those
same?
elect this and those elect this. So and it's every 6 months.
And there's delegation. Maybe talk a bit more about how the votes are delegated. That they can be delegated also a few times.
Right.
and-
Let's say that I'm delegating my vote in, for example, health care to Kit, and Kit delegates his vote in health care to Abu Afia. Okay. Now, Abu Afia, when he votes, he will vote also for Kit and for me. Now, if he will delegate it to me, and he can do that, it doesn't matter who of us will vote, we would vote for all of us. But if somebody does vote, even if they delegate already their vote, so their vote counts, not the person they delegated the vote to. And it would all be
Like if a
transparent.
person votes already in advance, then the delegatee cannot change.
How is it being done?
Well, actually, we did it in 2012.
No, I mean, you delegate your vote to me. How do I vote for you? How do I do
When-
Then every
whenever
time
you
you
vote,
vote, you have 3 points.
Yes.
You have 3 voices
Mine,
behind
okay,
you.
or whoever they delegated. If 100 people delegated to me and I'm going for vacation and say, will you do me a favor? I'm going to be 1 month away. Can you vote for instead of me? And you said yes. They delegate it for you. Each time that you vote for me and for another 100 people.
And if
that
you have 10
delegated.
friends like this, your vote is worth 1,000 votes.
Exactly.
And that's why you
And
can
the system
be
exists.
more.
We did it. We have the system.
This is liquid feedback.
But it was very not friendly. It was hard to use. We did it. We had, I think, 200 people that really participated in it before the elections, and that's how we made decisions in the elections, like for the campaign,
what videos
what
to show.
videos to shoot, who will do what, and it did work. And the German Pirate Party provided us with the server, and there was a programmer that came here from Germany that helped us set everything. And like 3 months after the elections, the website disappeared. And I left Israel and so on. But the system works. We had it running, and it was not so friendly. It should be developed more, so it will be more nice for the user. When we did it, it was only on the computer, like you couldn't really do it from your phone, but it is doable to do it as an application for mobile phones, and that's the future. Like there is no doubt that that's how things will be if countries want to remain democracy. But we show the direction, and we want to provide a platform. So that was one thing that I wanted to talk with you about. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, because we have some people from other pirate parties here, and we also have people that might be watching us from either pirate party, is how we can cooperate, how pirate parties in the world can cooperate. I did mention it before, not in the conference and that, but we have pirate parties that have really great success in the world. At the moment, those are the Czech Pirate Party, that Steve is from the party, and Pirate Party of Iceland, that don't have representatives here, but those two parties are in their countries' parliaments, and also there are representatives in the European Parliament. And I think that it would be really good for everybody if there would be an intensive cooperation between those parties, because, for example, we in Israel cannot convince the public to vote for us because people think that it's esoteric, marginal, not as important as security and so on. But if we say that we are part of a very big international movement that has representatives, and we can bring, we can deliver, and we can show that we can deliver, that might change public opinion, and it can be done very, very rapidly. In Israel, before every elections, there is suddenly a party that comes out of nowhere. Usually, the people in this party are already, connected to the politics before, but it's a new party, and people are open to vote for new parties. So almost always, the second largest party in Israel is a party that didn't exist in the previous elections, and we can do that. you know, the vision that I pictured 2 days ago when we spoke with Steve is that if the Pirate Party in Czech Republic, who has now 22 members, would host like a pirate peace treaty between Israel and Iran, and the pirates of Israel and the pirates of Iran would meet in a real place, in a parliament, in the Czech Republic, and would sign for arranging all the problems. Have embassies, have trade, have like normal relationship, and that could be a big boost for many things. I think that it would give a lot of publicity if we would do it in the right way, and it would show the people in Israel that it's doable. People would say, well, it needs to happen also in Iran, so it's not on them, but they say, yeah, it also needs to happen here, and I think that we can do that. Another thing that I suggested is that there is not a PPI, the Pirate Party International, that Kit is the Secretary General of them, and Thomas from Germany, who I don't know where he is right now, is the treasurer, and it's a body that does exist, but it's a very weak body. I think that it should be stronger, that it should be more well defined, and that the parties should be able to collaborate in a way that will assist each other, because it is true that there are pirates in other countries that are close to us, like in Lebanon or in Tunisia, and we could do very interesting things with them, and there are pirates everywhere in the world, and we can do a lot of things together. I think that it would be also nice to have some kind of big event in the European Parliament for the pirates, and just to educate the people what it means, what the pirates stand for transparency, for civil rights, for those issues, and for dynamocracy. Because I think that the dynamic democracy is really, really the big thing. That's what I think the people want it. People do want to be engaged and want to influence, and they can't do it so much, even in parliamentary presidential democracies that we have nowadays.
Also, it sounds complicated, but in the bottom line, every person has two options. One is to delegate their vote to someone they know. And they can appoint tops as many ministers as they have. Like they can appoint their own minister of education, finance, transportation, and security. And the second thing is just vote.
Yeah.
All you need to know.
All right, that was my piece. Yeah.
How those two parties that succeeded? How they succeeded?
Well, I think that Steve is going to talk after me, and he will
I'll
be
talk
more.
about our case. I'm not sure about Iceland.
Well, it will be your thing to tell about the Czech. I don't know much about Iceland. I did visit them 5 days, 1 week ago. I visited them, and
here's an event we did.
yeah, we did a big event here in Jerusalem when there were the elections in Iceland. I think that what I got from there is that there was chaos in their system. There was a lot of corruption, and there was a economic crisis. So there was an economic crisis. It was all over the world, but in Iceland it was real big, and people voted for the pirates as like protest vote. That was the way that they entered. But I think that in the Czech Republic it's a little bit more complicated. They did, more grassroots work, and Steve will talk about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
HDMI is
I
okay?
prefer to keep my notes because I was gonna look at my computer.
HDMI okay?
No, I'm gonna send you
HDMI.
file. So we'll see what's quicker.
While we're waiting just for him to send it, any questions for Oad?
Yeah, any other question? Yes.
When you give somebody your proxy, like the vote,
Yes.
that's kind of like non-democratic, is it not? Like, does he have to vote as you instruct, or
No.
he can pool votes?
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's okay?
No, he can pull votes. Like
Right,
he can.
right now, the system is that you give your vote in all issues in one time about education, transportation, culture, security for 4 years to an unknown.
Zero without it.
This
yeah.
way you
But I
decide.
there is a very direct answer to it. The vote lasts several hours, okay, about 12 hours, and you can see what the person that you delegated your vote voted for, and if you don't like it, you can change. You can vote, and then your vote will count, and not.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
So,
Like you can vote yourself if you're interested, but if
Yeah.
you're not interested
Yeah,
and you
if-
don't want to be online and seeing when
Yeah.
they're voting
Oh, I
on
see.
what, and there's someone that you trust, and you
Okay.
can give them your vote.
כן, כשאני משתמש בסיסמה. ואז אתה נכנס לאתר ואתה רואה את הדברים השונים שמחליטים עליהם. אתה יכול להציע דברים. And you can also suggest things to vote on, our new policies. And if 10% of the other people say that it's interesting, it goes up to for a vote. Yes. Yeah, that is actually the simple part. You just choose an IR member.
Does everyone remember it's with the zero the password or without zero?
Dan, do you want to say something about your
With or
idea?
without zero, no
Okay.
hashtag.
So maybe before Steve, when he gets ready, Dan can tell something.
Okay. I had an idea to have, like the Bitcoin, a coin of the pirates, which will be used by the parties all over the world. The name of the coin will be Loot.
Loot.
Loot, L-O-O-T. Which is when you take a ship, you know, the merchandise, you loot it. So this was the idea. And I think that it could be valuable in a short time. I mean, I have no knowledge of how to do this with
The digital currency.
and how to defend it.
Yeah, encrypt it.
Yes, I don't know, but probably the professional people will know how to do that. But this was the idea that it will be a valuable something which will be also a symbol, and it will connect all the parties
Yes.
because they will all use the same coin.
And I think that it's really a good idea because currencies throughout history had a lot to do with regime and with concentration and with if there was an empire, the entire empire would have the same currency, and every nation state has a currency. And if there is, federation or like the European Union, they have the same currency. So I think that it would be really nice and very pirate to have a new pirate currency, especially now when there are there are many digital currencies right now, and it seems like they will be more successful than the money that is printed by the central bank because it doesn't depend on any central bank. So
Both coin.
why should we have central bank if anyway money is only something that we believe in? It's like either a number in the computer or a card or a piece of paper. It's just something that we believe in. It doesn't really have any real value. So why won't we believe in something that we create ourselves and that would connect people around the world against the big systems? I think that it's a good idea, and we should see how we can do it. It does require work of professionals, not just volunteers, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of equipment, of computers and stuff.
If all the parties everywhere will agree about it, then we can work
Yes.
with professional people.
Yeah, I know that in
Probably
Germany
we
there are
don't
many
know
volunteers that are
how-
programmers,
How to produce this coin. And,
Almost every pirate party has a T-shirt, right? So
Yes.
we can take every pirate coin equals T-shirts,
Yes,
and then
it costs
in every
one
country, if
And
you
it
sell
costs
other
one-
countries'
one
T-shirts,
loot.
it's worth more,
It
right?
is.
Because how many
Exactly.
Swedish
Exactly.
parties? So we
and the
can.
hat can be half a lot, and then everything else can be based on that.
This,
You can buy whatever. You can buy weed online.
This is my idea.
Yes.
This is what I have
שבע,
suggested.
הנה דן פה.
What do you think, Shlomo?
ביי.
Good idea. I don't know. Bitcoin and other digital coins are serving, people who want to launder money and do all kinds of not good things. The question is how to avoid it, how to prevent it.
This is what I said, that I have no idea about the technology.
It's super slow. Do you have a flash drive?
תעשה לו תדרינג אולי. אתה לא יכול תדרינג. אין לו אינטרנט. Are you, is it slow to send? Maybe if you're
No,
closer
it's
to
slow to even connect.
I can do tethering, but it.
with your phone. Just to send the email?
Yeah, because so I want to use my computer for now, so or until we get the flash drive. Sorry.
Okay, that's small break.
Basically, the point is to give you some background on how the checks got in, and maybe how to run a pirate campaign, and what to think about when you're running a campaign. So this is mostly about campaigning and about how to communicate. And winning an election it's not just about having a good platform, because after all, if the platform did the job, then we get 100% of the seats, right? So, but clearly we don't. So there is something different that's going on. So could you please give me the next slide? Thanks. So this is just I have to give you some prep for the Czech political environment. So this is the landscape, and that was the landscape before the election in January 2017. The election was in October 2017. So at that time already we started basically planning the campaign, and it's best to start early. It was one of the best decisions we made, especially if you don't have that much money. If you only have the commitment of the people, then starting early definitely a good thing to do. So just to give you some brief on the parties. So this is how much money they had in Czech crowns before the election, and this is what they kind of mean very briefly, in a shortcuts to the population. So this is a party owned by a billionaire businessman, the second richest Czech. So they had a lot of money. They are populist. They're quite popular with significant chunk of the population. These are two parties that emerged back in the 90s, just after the Velvet Revolution. One's left of the center, one's right of the center. Basically, they have this image now, so that's why people stop voting for them. But they still do have decent money. This is a party of the elitists, or I call them elitists, and mostly they have this kind of image. Their former chairman and biggest personality was of noble origins. They have very educated, or they pride themselves on having an educated electorate, and if you vote for them, then you're to think that you're a better person. That's their message, sort of. So then this is the Christian Democratic Party. They are socially conservative, centrist. So they have a connection with the church. Church is not very popular in the Czech Republic. It's the most atheist country in the world. So they don't get a lot of the vote. They usually get some 5% of the vote. There are people, mostly Christians, vote this party in Moravia, and this time before the election they made a deal with another party that was not defined. So this party actually was in a coalition with this party, but because this was starting to be unpopular, they swapped to this party, and they are called mayors and independents. So they don't really have any
affiliation.
Well, they do have some affiliation. They obviously say they're liberal, but they lack definition. This is the Communist Party from the old days, underformed, still there. They're sure it doesn't really matter how much they spend on the campaign; it just gets them the same amount of vote every time. This is very interesting. It's an anti-immigration party run run by a Japanese immigrant. But they are very popular. And so and then
That's why you were considered also the more serious party, maybe.
maybe. So yeah, that's
At least we're not those
so
anti-immigration immigrants.
So this is kind of the message of this slide. And when you think about it, we actually were a decent choice in this company. So and this is also what we are looking at in January, and we are thinking, all right, so how much are we gonna go for? So anybody, if you're in our situation in January, and you would know that in Prague in 2014 you got a little over 5%, and in 2013 in the general election we got 2.6% for parliament. So we saw the situation and we were like, okay, what is our target? So anybody, what would you go for?
Against who?
What would be your goal? What would be your goal? What was the number?
37.
37% of the vote.
Actually, the target should be 72% of the vote. Should be.
Right.
Why? Why not?
I like the thinking though. Anybody else want to take a guess? Like, if you like,
How many seats are this out of 200? It's
there are
hard for me to
200 seats, but
calculate.
we are thinking in percentages.
What was your budget?
5 million. This is the budget.
The budget.
These are all the relevant parties.
5 million euros.
No, Czech
money.
crowns. Czech crowns.
What is
Yeah,
5
okay.
million?
No, but what is it in euros?
Divide €1 is like 25 Czech crowns.
Okay, so it's about
200,000 euros.
Yeah, but what matters more is how they compare. Like, it actually doesn't matter how much you got, because if everybody had very little, then your situation vis-a-vis others would be better. So, yeah, it's like
20%.
nice.
I'll throw a number until you.
I like how optimistic people are here. Anybody else? 5%, alright. 5% is the threshold, by the way. So if you get any seats at all, you have to get at least 5%.
In Israel, it's 4.
No, I think 3 or 2.7.
4, I think.
Are they already increased it to
Yeah.
4?
Again.
Well, I'm going for 2 days and
That's what happens when you go.
They said 4, and I think they wrote there, and not Ohad Shem Tov.
So, anyway, well, if there are no more bets, then can we scroll down, please? So this is the slide that I was gonna ask you this question. So yeah, this is the development. Like, this is what you know about your party. You got this is your best result in the polls up to that date. This is how you have fared from 2015 in the polls nationally. This is the threshold. This is the election. This is another poll that's coming up, and you don't know the result yet. So you're guessing 20.
Maybe 12.
All right. Anybody?
5.
All right. Could you scroll down?
You can't aim for 5 when the threshold is 5.
Based on history.
So that's what actually many people in the Czech Republic would think, that you should aim for 5. If the threshold is 5, because the goal is getting there. But that's not the point. The point is to be a relevant party. And with 5%, you would get like 6 people, maybe less, out of 200, and you would be pretty much just you would be taking up space. Or even if you enter the government, you'd be irrelevant. So people want to be represented, and there are other considerations, obviously, but people also they want to see ambition, and we wanted to be ambitious. So I'll give you more on how we get to that number. Could you scroll down, please?
Less than 10%? Is that what
And
it is?
it was a strategic choice, by the way.
Greater
I think,
than
yeah,
10%.
at least 10%. Yeah. So that was when we released that goal, many people thought it was ridiculous, and we didn't want to obviously. If we said 20 or if we said 50, like then it would be ridiculous. But 10% was very ambitious, but it was a good number, stated from it was an ambitious goal stated by young, educated people that wanted to that meant business.
When was it done? When did the party announce we aim for this 10%?
I'll show later, but I announced it in January, even before being picked. Actually, for the job. 2017.
2017.
Yeah,
okay. Right.
Yeah, that was my bet in January. Actually, later I'll show you.
But this is, it says 2010. Is this like
Yeah,
the model
no,
you took from a different party
exactly.
that happened in...
This is what we are thinking, or what I was thinking back then.
Sorry,
So
is this the number you said at an internal meeting of the
no,
communications team, or
we said it publicly, and we kept
Okay,
repeating
that
it. We
kind
kept
of makes
repeating it.
sense.
Yeah, we kept repeating 10% all the time, from like the very first moment, and we never backed down. So even when the polls were at 4%, we just said we won't be 1 of 10.
But you do realize that if you overdo it, you look like a joke.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
But if you succeed, then they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, then the naysayers look
Obviously,
like...
I mean, you need to state a number that will make people think you're relevant.
Yeah,
and you're not
exactly.
going to
There was
succeed.
actually another
But at the
number.
same time, if you overdo it, people think you're a lunatic.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, if you say I want 120%, it's like...
No, but
We had a case like
you
that
had
in the
like
Cyprus
you had
elections.
some kind of
So,
discussion
yeah,
in the party,
he
and
became
then
a
you
joke.
said, okay, that's what the party will do.
So
like,
my original proposal when I came up to the party leaders was, look, like we have to just shoot out an ambitious goal, so something that relevant, because we gotta show people that we are a relevant force, so people don't think that your vote is lost. And that was actually that was a big barrier, and one of the greatest barriers to voting the Pirate Party was that, look, my vote would be lost, so I'm not gonna vote for you. Maybe I'm not gonna vote at all.
That's exactly, it's a strategic vote, it's called.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens in Israel. Like, people would not vote for us, like, also when we were, like, in any case, because they say we are going to lose our vote. Like, what's the odds, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That was my initial proposal. Like, we have to show that we are relevant, because people are gonna think that their vote is lost. And later on, when we ran our own internal polls, then we found out this barrier to be one of the greatest barriers that people had.
But in Israel, because of this fear of losing your vote, there is a system whereby if you don't pass the threshold, your vote, if you made an agreement with the party previously, then it goes to that party. If you did not,
Not
then it
exactly
gets
that.
distributed according to
Not
whatever the
exactly,
other
but-
parties have.
but it's still the
that's
same.
That's not the case. Like, you can make a deal with another party, but it's only about the surplus of the vote. Kolota or the film.
After
if
you
you
get
are
the
not
vote.
entered, if you don't get into the parliament, all the votes go to garbage. They are just distributed equally by everybody. Like, they are just
But the problem is the same problem, never mind the solutions that there are.
right.
People
Well,
don't
yeah,
vote
yeah.
for
Exactly.
believing that.
It's pretty much the same in most countries. People just don't vote for the underdog.
החסימה עכשיו בארץ.
So, and usually the stronger the political tradition, the stronger the habit. So in the States, it's really hard to break. Anyway, so
Yes.
the only question was what the exact number should be, and this is a big issue, because there was actually one party that they said too much, basically, in their ambitions. Like, some people are actually telling jokes about parties, like wanting to get so many votes that we had, like, for the total tally would be 400%. So, but there, we got the number just right, and this is one of the reasons why. Because in Czech politics, there'd always be a new party, and they'd be able, if they were well funded or if they had the means, they would generally be able to score over 10%, and usually if you got over 5% in the polls, or if you made people believe that you would make it, you would have your potential would be anywhere from like 5 to 15, and usually you'd have the potential. Basically, if you cross this threshold, you'd be able to make it to 10. And it happened once, which is with this party, which was actually it says direct democracy party, but really it was it's a bit of a scam.
Japanese.
No. Actually, the Japanese guy says the same. But it was set up by a businessman back then, as a political wing of his business, essentially. But they dressed it up very neatly, like
Good,
they had a
good marketing.
yeah, very good marketing.
It happened in Israel too
yeah.
that somebody registered the Green Party, but he was like a producer of.
Chemicals.
And he
Yeah.
employed,
So that was
people
similar.
in,
Like it was basically this was a party for people who wanted change, but it was a well-designed scheme and they managed to fool 10% of the voters. Well, from the marketing perspective, perfect job.
That was
For the country, not so much really.
And in what year did they got it 10%?
2010, yeah. And if you scroll down, please. It happened again in the next election, 2 years after the first party, and with a much stronger result. So this time it's a very similar case, except the guy who's behind it is like 100 times richer than the guy before. Because now this party, this is the Anna party with the factory guy, the factory image. So it's run by the second richest chick
And what
in the
does
country.
this mean? I know.
Yes.
Yes.
It means yes. Yeah. And it's an acronym. It should be like action of like the satisfied citizens or something. But they didn't want to sound negative, and he hired the best marketing experts, and they dressed it up neatly. So instead of like this is their original logo. So they removed the exclamation mark, and they added this slogan, which means things will get better. And I mean, great one. Right?
We promise.
Yeah. But
You will all die. We promise.
the whole thing is their initial strategy in 2013 was to outspend everybody, which they did. They got a lot of votes, but they spent a lot of money on the campaign. Their vote was extremely expensive, but they had the means to do it. Then now the campaign spending is more regulated, so you cannot do it anymore. But back then it was still possible. So could you scroll please? So it was done, and so we picked 10%, and actually we got lucky because just before the party assembly we got 5.5% in the poll, so we got past the 5% threshold, and it could have been a statistical anomaly easily because the statistical anomaly is up to 2%. So it could have been anything.
Is it in newspapers or internal or polls you ordered?
So, no. This is all official, or not official, but public polls. Like this is all public source.
And you would run in prior elections as well?
Sorry?
You would run in prior elections?
Yeah, we ran in 2013. In 2013 we got 2.6%. But mostly...
But there's public polls every month in Czech. It's like the public...
There are polling agencies, they release the
Also in Israel.
There are like 3-4 agencies that run the polls, so you can get plenty of sources. So this is where it's coming from. But back then the Pirate Party was still a very unknown party, but it was picking up. I didn't know much about the Pirates until around this time. So
1.7%. It's you.
So to me, the Pirates used to be a fringe party. I didn't know much about it until I learned, thanks to my colleague at work, who used to follow the Pirates. So it was very niche, and our task was to reposition it so that most people would know about it. So just before, like 2 days before the party assembly, this number got posted. So it got picked up by national newspapers, and we got coverage. So this is like this,
cycle.
Like feedback, basically. Positive feedback. So and then we had the party assembly, which got media coverage just because of this number. And at that party assembly, we again repeated the goal that we'd get 10%. So if you could please scroll down. So there are some things that we did to support the notion that we'd get in and that we would overcome this barrier. So this post, which you will not understand because it's written in Czech, is me in January betting with anybody who wanted to bet for a bottle of good rum that the pirate party would get over 10%. And I posted it publicly, so there are actually many people writing, "Hey, I'll bet." I was like, "Fine."
Did you get really many battles?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
You don't drink.
What, for the rest of your life?
Probably because I don't drink. So,
So
I
coming to visit.
yeah, but I like whenever I have guests, I think for
You have
many
plenty
years
of rum.
to come, yeah, I am well stocked. So yeah, this is and I bet with a colleague who would later become my deputy because I paid him as my deputy. I basically I'll show later, but this is what I did to to break the notion. And there are several other people who are like, look, this is not that irrelevant. And suddenly, like when you wanted to bet, so then people saw that I kept accepting the bets. And then there was one guy finally who wrote it. It was like, look, I'll bet for 12%. And I was like, man, I said 10. And this is the moment that you're aiming for, because suddenly people start thinking about it and people start doubting their judgment. And this is what you need to do when you're trying to convince people that you actually do have a real chance. And there are different strategies how to do it. This is one strategy that we picked, and there are several other things that we did throughout the campaign. But there are other strategies how to break. So this is the chairman. He's got dreadlocks again. Many people said it was a barrier. In the polls, turned out it wasn't. It's perfectly fine to have dreadlocks. He could be easily prime minister. He's the third most credible politician in the country now, after the billionaire businessman and the Japanese guy.
The Japanese guy is credible.
He's trusted by a lot of people, but also he's very polarizing. So the first two are very polarizing figures. Ivan Bartoš is not polarizing, so he's credible, but he doesn't get negative points.
So he's a member of the parliament.
Yeah, he is. He's the chairman of the party and member of parliament now.
Sorry, his name again?
Ivan Bartoš.
We also have a tradition because of Vakshaslava that you can have somebody who is an intellectual and an artist and still be a good politician.
Yeah, and he's an IT guy. He's doing well. He's become like over the course of the campaign. He's improved a lot in rhetorical skills. So he's a very good debater now. And yeah, but anyway, but back to the point. Like this is he repeated the goal. He did believe the goal after being convinced that this is possible. And then again, when I got hired, we said the same thing. Like I said, look, I'm not like anything under 10%. I'd consider it
Failure.
Failure. Yeah, failure. And this was an article about me and now, like, we sold my schools there and my previous employment, like management consultancy. So basically, like, it was to sound like, hey, look, like the pirates in business. So this is how we kicked it off early on. So yeah, could we move on? So before I move on to the actual campaign, there are 3 prerequisites for a successful campaign, I believe. And there is like unless you have those 3, it is very unlikely that you'd do well in an election. But to be successful and to be able to run the campaign, you need to have some track record. So you need to have some people already who can lead, and we did have them. So this guy I'll go from the left, Petr Třešňák. He's also a member of parliament now, but back then he was the mayor. He was the only pirate mayor in the country, but he happened to be a mayor of a famous spa town in Western Bohemia. Yeah, Spa.
Success, don't forget.
Sorry.
It was the success of the first one.
Yeah, and he was in that town they had Marienbad, like it's got a German name as well. Yeah. So the pirates got 21%. So again, like if you advertise to the rest of the country, hey, look, like there are pirates, like there are some. If 21%
In a
of the
small
people,
city.
13,000 people, not that small, and still, though, if 21% of the people in that city can vote pirate, then why couldn't the rest of the country, right? So very convincing argument, and people understand. Ivan Bartosz, charismatic, very easy to recognize thanks to his dreadlocks. Again, we got some contradictory advice, and people go intuitively for, hey, look, I like you and I'm gonna vote for you, but boy, like he's gonna drop those dreadlocks so that other people can vote for you. But this is bullshit. Like the people think what others think, and the worst mistake is to think what others will think they think.
They need to be authentic.
Yeah. So and you're like, look, like if you vote for him, then there are other people like you who are gonna vote for him as well. So dreadlocks are not an issue either, especially for a very liberal party. And he's very smart. He's got a PhD, which is what he sold. We actually used to put university titles everywhere. Yeah, he's got like 2 PhDs. Yeah. So or actually one PhD and one like other like very high title.
Country.
Yeah. But
We also have 2 doctors in there.
yeah. This is a good thing to sell because people tend to assume that pirates would be dumb. So we are trying to break that right at the beginning. So that's why we used university titles. And same with this guy. We use both of his titles. It's very funny.
What both titles?
He's a master at master, but he's got masters in physics and masters in law. So yeah,
Double master.
He's basically the pirate production facility. He's very tough. Again, extremely smart. He can like basic. I think the.
You laughing?
Yeah. Well, I was working for him right after the election for a while. Like he's not easy to work with. To be honest, he's very demanding, and but he's demanding of himself as well. So, like basically, this is the production facility, and now the political folks take him very seriously. This is like he can see behind many corners, and what others don't see. So basically, you need to have the people. You need the people that you're selling that are interesting in some ways. Ivan very interesting, because of his dreadlocks, because of how smart, how authentic he is. Petr, again, mayor of a pirate town and a vocal opposition leader from Prague. They had 4 deputies in Prague, but they got headlines every other day because of the job that they were doing in the Prague City Council. So after getting the 5% in the Prague City Council, then Prague was the best scoring region in the Czech Republic in the elections. Like that basically got us the result that we got. So that was thanks to his work. And then this is the platform. Then you can take many approaches to a platform, but if you wanna succeed in an election, and if you wanna be successful for the long term, it's gotta be holistic and it's gotta be easy to communicate. 2 things. So one thing is being holistic. Basically, if you're a political party, you want to represent the people. I know there are core pirate issues, and every pirate should know the core pirate issues, such as copyright law, such as privacy, internet freedom. But for most people in the country, these issues are marginal. So you have to know what your platform is, and by having it done early on, you also prevent some other problems later because you don't want to split as a party on some issues such as tax, for example, or others. And not saying they have to be dealt with upfront, but if you're selling it to the public has to know that you are a force that has an opinion and some expertise in all the fields. Not necessarily superb expertise, but you should at least have something there. And this is how we chose to communicate. Actually, this guy chose to communicate it that way. A very smart decision, because everybody understands what these are. These are ministries. Everybody knows what the Secretary of Education does. They are in charge of education. Everybody knows what the Secretary of Culture does. They're in charge of culture, finance, transportation, defense. So this is how people understand it. So we want to talk the language of the people and not our own language. So it's not just about picking the topics. The pirate topics are still there, but legalization is under health. So this is where it belongs, because if we had legalization here, again, we probably wouldn't be taken seriously, and we wouldn't be dealing with an issue that is important and relevant to most of the population. So this is the prerequisite one. You need the product. You need something to sell. You can just copy. The second prereq is the team, and you have to set up a decent team, and you can do it for cheap, which is what we did. I was a volunteer for so while still keeping my job that required 200 plus hours every month before starting with the pirates. So it was excruciating, but I volunteered from 2016, and everything's about the team. I couldn't do anything without all the people that were involved. This guy, Jan Lipovsky, he's a member of parliament now. He was on the 5th spot in Prague. It was quite unlikely that he would get in, and he got in actually at the very last minute when they were announcing the results. So we found out that we got
seat.
Yeah, we got the last seat, the 5th seat for Prague. So he got it eventually. Yeah. So he was in charge of social media. He kept track of all the campaign spending, because it took a lot of energy. So this guy, Jirka Hoskovec, so he was my colleague. He worked for a different team, but I had known him from before. So I asked him if he'd join. So he took sabbatical at work, and he joined for a very meager pay, basically a sustenance rate, so that he could work for the pirates. So he's back in the management consulting business again, and he got his basically
Back to work.
Yeah, he's back in his old job, but he took time off so that he could work on the pirate campaign. Carolina, she's the PR manager now still, so she's working with the media and keeps all the relationships. She was my competitor in the selection procedure for the campaign manager. But we got her interested, so I convinced her to volunteer. So she helped us with starting the campaign and everything, and then we asked one of the sponsors, who's also her friend, if he'd be willing to finance her salary for several months, which he did. So we got sponsorship for her, and this is the only person that we have acquired. So there's one thing that we are lacking, and we're lacking experience, we're lacking contacts in the business. So we hired a strategy consultant from. So thanks to him, we got a lot of contacts, and he also gave a very very good feedback on what we've come up with. Sorry. So just on the team, like the team is absolutely crucial. I just can't stress enough the importance of the team. Yeah, thanks. And this is the last prereq, and this is you don't need a lot of money, as you saw at the beginning, but you need some money, and you just can't pull it out with nothing. I don't know how campaign financing works here or elsewhere in the world, but you need to have saved up something so that you could run a decent campaign and decide on the campaign budget early on. You can do things for cheap, but mostly you can do them for free. I couldn't do Fired campaign without being paid, and my colleagues couldn't do it either. So and also you cannot buy like you cannot buy merchandise for nothing. You could buy it for cheap, and we actually imported it from China. We are the only political party that did direct import, because I did an internship in China, so I knew people there. So I asked to consolidate everything in China. So we got it for less than half the price, most often of what you would get it for in the Czech Republic. But again, you need to have something to buy it for. So these three preregs, if you have these three preregs, then I believe it's possible to put together a great campaign that will do the trick. Thanks. And sorry, just in the theme again. Could you you don't have to scroll. Well, maybe yeah. Please scroll on. Thanks. Yeah. So one of the first things I started doing, even as a volunteer in March, I started tapping into my network actually to get other people, because there are other people who work as volunteers who I convinced after many coffees that they'd be willing to help us out with the campaign. So one thing you can do is just think about who you know and who you could ask for help, because more often than not, I think people will be like, hey, okay, I'll help you, and this is ultimately what you need to do. Also, this guy, he got a lot of people involved, just his friends, that would give advice or do something for free. Sorry, thanks.
So many times people are afraid to ask for help, more than people are actually willing to help.
Yeah. Most people will help you if you ask them. Mm-hmm. So all you need to do is ask, and so the networks works great, because this is what I'm getting to. So when I was thinking about what our advantage is over the competition, it's not the money. So you have to think about other assets you have, and one of the assets was the team, and I put a lot of effort into recruiting the best people. Luckily, thanks to the schools that I went to or other circumstances, I could ask a lot of really good people to help. So I could be confident that we had the best team, we had a better team than the others, and our team was more dedicated. While others went home at 6, we would stay until the morning, and every day pretty much. So that was just and some people hate me for it, because those who are on the meager payroll that we could afford, the coordinators in the regions, we kind of kept choosing them for the very best, and using sticks and carrots to get everything that we possibly could. So it wasn't nice all the time, but people are willing to help. So then this is the advantages that we have identified early on. But we saw that our membership was going up, all the other parties were stagnating. So one of the things, and if you have a member, the member is more committed than anybody else. So the members can help you run the campaign best. They could be volunteers. So we made it a target to keep growing the membership, perhaps even faster. There are some people who are willing to join. We did have the track record. We had a very strong Facebook fan base at the time. Now this has over 120,000 people. So we grew it significantly. But even then, that was our strongest channel. So we knew where we'd be focusing, because we had traction on Facebook. So we decided to utilize Facebook, and we put a lot of effort into Facebook. And we had the volunteers. We had a lot of people who got excited for the party. Again, this is an anomaly in the Czech Republic, not so much in the US where people volunteer, but in the Czech Republic, it is still not very traditional to volunteer for anything. So if you have volunteers, this is a huge asset. So could we go down, please? So this is the goals that we identified. So I'll go from the bottom, but getting 10%. I've said that already. Mobilize volunteers. If it's your biggest asset, you gotta go for the volunteers and you gotta make sure that they get engaged somehow. And later on, we had several strategies how we managed to do it. And then you have to acquaint the voters with the party platform. Now, the important thing is people don't vote rationally. And most people are not rational. So they use emotions to decide who they're going to vote for. I think more so in Israel than in other countries because you're under constant threat, like security threat, and security threats make people emotional. So
and logic is not the strongest.
Yeah, logic never plays a role. This is just one thing that you always have to you have to arouse some emotions to make people connect with you in a meaningful way. People don't vote according to the platform. Now we wanted to make sure that people knew that we had a platform, because for many people the pirates just didn't have any platform. So we created a series of short 1-minute videos, like animated sketches that would briefly explain each category, and we kept running ads on it. It was very cheap, because videos always on Facebook videos get good traction. So running a video ad is much cheaper than running a text ad or anything else. But the whole point wasn't about convincing people, hey, like we have a great program. The whole point was letting people know, hey, we have a program that works really, and we do have a program. And then it was more about the other content that we put out that made people connect with us. So just what I wanted to say was be authentic. Just before, but sorry, I'll go to the next one. And think about what your competitive advantage is. So now the first thing before you even start campaigning, by the way, am I going too long? No. All right. So yeah, I didn't know how much time I would have, but so we did run a poll, one single internal poll, quantitative survey to find out who our voters are and why they choose pirates and why they wouldn't choose pirates. So first thing is definitely a poll is a helpful thing, and if you can do it, then by all means you should. And you should probably you have to ask the right questions. So it's not enough to know where you are in the polls. You have to know ideally what your voters want and why they wouldn't pick you. Because then you find out that actually like digital agenda, which we thought would gain traction, wasn't the reason why people voted the pirates. It was different. It was transparency. It was government. It was political responsibility. So this is the reason, and it was mostly, I think, driven by Prague and by what the pirates did there. So and then you learn about the barriers as well, and also we learned that some people like our tax program. It was one of the strongest motivators. That taxes that everybody understands. Because it was a big issue, and everybody pays taxes, almost everybody. So based on that, based on the poll, we could simplify the platform to four key pillars, and we would have one claim, and that would be the message. The message was new ideas for new age, and our brand is a rebel brand. We decided to target rebel voters across age, like not just young voters who do think that we are naturally younger voters tend to vote for the pirates, but we didn't target young. We targeted the rebels, and that's why we get older voters as well. So based on all this information from the polls, then you create some creative, it's called creative brief, that you give to the designer, and we had a competition for the best design. So this is how you start, and we had it changed. So this is the old logo, this is the new logo, and the whole point of the platform was black on white. Like it was just like we didn't have any other color, just black and white. First of all, it was very cheap, and
And effective.
yeah, yeah. But second of all, it was just it told people that we had content, that we was a party that had the content. Because if we did,
The content.
yeah, but we had a platform, we had meaning. Because before the pirates were a joke, so that's why we eliminate all images and everything, and we just use text mostly, but big text.
Right.
And
And logo.
yeah. So so this is how you start. So one of the advice we got was focus on who you are. Just be the rebel, and then don't broaden your target. Then we are agile as well. So the first claim that we did actually wasn't that was supposed to be the black and white. Eventually, we just called our platform the platform black and white, or black and white. And we had a different claim that had a very good traction with it.
This is the logo I made for you guys.
Great. Yeah, this is the old one.
And I actually did this where I put the check map behind the logo for
nice.
just an idea.
Yeah. So this simplification is really important. Basically, we got from the whole platform 4 pillars to one message and one claim that says it all. And it's a good idea to invest a lot of energy into figuring out what the claim should be. But if you don't have the right claim, then by a certain deadline, just pick the one you got. This is what happened to us. I didn't like the claim we had initially, but one of the guys that you saw on the team, Mikuláš Ferenczi, a long time member, so it was his claim actually that we used eventually, and that was probably the best claim of the whole campaign. So I didn't like it, but he liked it as well. The strategical consultant liked it as well. It aligned with the poll, with the survey that we had, so we used it, and it worked. Could we move down, please? So the next thing you'll have to worry about is how to get the money that you need. In Czech politics, the nice thing is that you get government money if you succeed in an election, even if you don't have any seats. Like if you get past 1.5% in national election, you get funded. You get some money for regional elections as well, but it wasn't enough. We still had a very low budget. So we invested a lot of effort into fundraising. We did many things. We did crowdfunding, which ended up being one of the most successful crowdfunding projects that the site has ever had. I think we are still on there. Hit. Yeah, it's called Hit. That's easy.
It's Czech site?
Yeah, it's a Czech site. Yeah, it's like Kickstarter, but very popular. One of the 3 main sites in the Czech Republic used for crowdfunding. So this is how we got very good money, much more than we expected, because we got over 200% of the initial goal. We got some money from the sponsors. It turned out that the sponsors are more willing to fund something specific than just give you money just for nothing really. So
can anybody donate or give money to this website, to the party?
Yeah, but no. So this turned out to be a problem. Well, not a very big problem, but you have to be able to vote in the EU Parliament elections in order to be able to donate to a party in the Czech Republic. So luckily, we got some money from people from Slovakia, who are not Czech nationals, but luckily because they can vote in the European elections in the Czech Republic, they could do it. But it was really hard, and it was one of the greatest bureaucratic nightmares that I've ever endured. Just running it, because there are strict regulations on who can donate and to a political party, and we have to publish a list of donors. So there is a new regulation that makes you publish the name, street address, I think, and the date of birth of each donor. So we had, including non-financial donors. So we had to publish a list of like 4,000 people to
And is there a limit how much they can donate?
Yeah, there is. They can donate up to 3 million crowns. Each individual.
How does it fit in with privacy adverts?
Well, it's not their fault. They have to.
Yeah, I know.
But what is 3 million? It's about 500,000.
Divided by 25. So 1/4.
Okay. So so in Israel, for example, only Israeli citizens who can vote can donate up to about 150 euros for the entire family.
What? You can only
Per year.
donate 150 euros for the entire family per year to a political party.
Yeah, that's why we closed our bank account. The pirate
And-
party,
and
because
you
it
need to
doesn't
be
make
able to
sense
vote
to
in the
run it because you can't.
So how do other parties get financed?
You can only get
But
either
you do
public
have the rule
funds.
if you won in the if you got 1% of the vote in the prior election. That's not enough.
After
to get
you're
government,
elected,
but
you can get.
Yeah.
But you
And
get
what,
reimbursed.
and what
Public
happens
So
is
you
that
get
it breeds
government-
corruption because
So
they need the money.
So you get money from the government.
No,
Only after you're elected.
Only after the
Only-
elections, if you get more than 1%, but you
if
don't
you
know.
enter, if you enter.
Yeah. So you don't have this money in advance. You
Well,
get-
that's similar to the Czech system. Like people, so the thing is, people in the Czech Republic are actually not that willing to give money to politics or to generally to like they're not that philanthropic or not at least not as philanthropic as the people in the U.S. are. But in the U.S. also the way things or the way fundraising works is much more developed. So we actually did use like part of it, and if you invest a lot of effort, you can get a decent chunk of the budget from fundraising. So this is the crowdfunding campaign. This is a post. So this single post that was seen by 250,000 people made over 300,000 crowns because we had a payment gate. Basically, we could accept card payments. Again, have to do it with the regulations that are in place. But we did it, and it paid off because you have to make it convenient for people to donate. So unfortunately, well, if your situation is such that you cannot really get donations, then it makes your life difficult. But without fundraising, we probably wouldn't have made it.
Can have maybe like direct donations if someone wants to pay for stickers. They can pay.
No, they cannot.
can't?
So this is what this is for. So the non-financial contributions are. So if somebody buys stickers for you, that's regulated as well. We actually got a lot more. So the way we got volunteers involved was you could sign up to have a banner posted on your fence, and we'd send you a banner.
Mhm.
So we created a little hub in actually my old hometown in our building, and we just kept sending banners to people who signed up, and so you could sign up for other things, but basically you could contribute in a non-financial way. Then we also had an e-commerce store, which if you go, I'll just show you our store. www. It's called Pirátský obchodací síť. No. Go back. P-I-R-E.
Pirati.cv?
No, I might have it myself. So it might be yes. Show you several things. So we set up something that we call a contributor, like a contributors package or something. Unfortunately, you cannot see it here anymore because we are no longer selling them. But we kept it live, and these are new designs, by the way, so quite popular for the winter. But could you go to here? Yeah, I think you can take control of the computer.
You can figure it out from your side because
Oh yeah. Sorry. So we had. Do we still have those t-shirts? No, we do. There. So we have these t-shirts,
These were all in China?
No.
No.
No. They are, well, printed in the Czech Republic. I don't know where the t-shirts are from, but I think they're from Cambodia or something, but not China.
And approximately €8.
Yeah, approximately, including tax. So, by the way, this is me on the picture. So this is how we take pictures. This T-shirt, we are selling this T-shirt in a package with 20 newspapers and other things, and people bought it and they spread the newspapers, and it got very popular, and it had a few wristbands and some badges. The newspapers and the T-shirt were great. Like 800 people bought it in the Czech Republic.
Nice. Like be your own representative.
Yeah,
your own,
exactly.
campaigner.
So this is how people join the effort. Yeah, you can go back to.
Okay.
I think we have 15 more minutes here.
All right, I'll wrap it up. I didn't realize that.
Wait, but don't we have more time now? Is there...
We could just giving general. We don't have to finish in 15, but more or less it will be the time.
Anyway, so fundraising really crucial. So then I'll just skip to, or I'll go to the turning point. So this is the bus. This was a guerrilla campaign. If you can do a successful guerrilla campaign, then you can really turn the tide. So before we are in the fall, you'll see later we just get stable. After this, so we got an old prison bus. The thing is, I had a budget, and I was going through Strava and thinking like, hey, so how can we get the best outdoor, the biggest, greatest outdoor that we can for as little money as possible? Like we're not gonna be sitting in the car and doing nothing. So I asked the assistant to look up various formats, and including buses and how much buses were, because eventually we got 2 buses. So and then we found somebody who knew someone who had a prison bus. We didn't have too many, but it was cheap.